Welcome to That Little Crafting Place. Today I have a modest thrift, then a wrap-up of the craft room activities as I prepare to complete Stage 3 of the 1/12 scale manor house. I can think of nothing better than beginning with this wonderful Atomic Era George Briard. I paid $3.99 for this, and its estimated retail value is between $14 and $18. This is only the second George Briard item I've ever found. It was a delight to run across this wonderful box of greeting cards. I try to save all the greeting cards that I receive in the mail from marketers. I keep all the birthday cards and some sympathy cards, and the rest I donate. I did not, however, have any blank cards, so this was on my things to do list. And these are lovely. It was so much fun to find them. I found these for $3. Their original price is $13.95, so I have a savings of $10.95. And these will last me for a very long time. Next is this base to a satin glass fairy lamp. I have been looking for this particular piece for 3 years. I found it this week for $1.99. The top I found 3 years ago. The only thrifting channel I personally enjoy watching is Crazy Lamp Lady. So I keep myself entertained thrifting by holding imaginary scavenger hunts with Jocelyn to see how long it would take me being way out west to find something that Jocelyn has found, or the other half of a fairy lamp. So far, I've won the game 3 times. This wonderful gift my son gave me for Christmas/birthday. I cannot wait to put it together with you on the channel. I'm going to start that sometime this spring. I took Nicholas out for his birthday and he ended up buying me this for mine. I had the choice between Alice in Wonderland and the bookstore, and I love books, so I chose the bookstore. Next, I started in November collecting things that I'm going to need to work on my project. I started out with an inexpensive set of oil paints, and then I moved on to watercolor pencils, so these were purchased in November. My goal for my build is to create my own original miniature art for the build, as well as to try and duplicate some English masterpieces. I have not painted in about 15 years, so I did not have any of the materials, so it was time to start over. My third oldest son gave me a gift certificate for my birthday/Christmas. On Amazon, I found a collection of art supplies. The pens are ultra fine tipped pens, and these are these wonderful brushes, and they all have a different cut on them. They're for different purposes in painting. So I'm getting my little collection together to use on large and small paintings. This came in a set of 3 for $23, and it's perfect for learning how to watercolor. I have never used watercolors before. These are miniature brushes with ultra fine tips for very fine work. These are also detailed paint brushes, and I'm going to show you what these look like. The other box has very fine brushes in it for really, really tiny work. So now I have a collection for doing miniatures, and we're going to get started on those very, very soon. These are brush pens with watercolors, and I'm excited to use those as well. And also part of my plan is to work on some of the furniture myself, and to do so I needed carving equipment. This set offered a nice selection of what I would need for miniatures. It does say a set of 23, but some of those 23 pieces include the blocks of wood that you see on the desk by the flowers. Thank you so much to my son Philip for this wonderful gift. These dental tools were $6.97, and they are ideal for working in paper mache and polymer clay for constructing the small items for the kitchen and other areas of the house. Many of the projects I have going this year include fabrics. I had a large rotary cutter which needed replacement blades, but it was recommended to me to get a smaller cutter because it seemed like the blades last longer with a smaller one. Any blades that I purchase, such as X-Acto knife blades, I purchase in bulk because it's more economical and it's more convenient for me since I don't drive. I just had a basic stitch embroidery book. It only had a handful of stitches, maybe 10 or 12. Because I have a stitchery project that's coming up I'm going to be sharing with you, as well as my crazy quilt project, I needed something with a lot more detailed stitches, especially for my crazy quilt, so I purchased this book. And I would recommend it, and do your best to buy your books used if possible, because it's very easy on the budget that way. This is nice because it's got a little stand and I can take it with me anywhere. The next two books are by the same author. I did purchase them used, and they're going to be wonderful in the fabric art projects that I do have planned this year. These books are absolutely lovely, and I can't wait to share them with my friend Julie. I worked on the build, stage 2, right up to the end of December, and so January I set aside for catching up on all the things around the family room. Making that graduation present for my son was one of them. Getting used to the Singer 66, I spent 4 days sewing the rest of the scraps together to make a small crazy quilt. And I just have a few more left to do. This is all the velvet I have thrifted for the last 10 years, and I cut it up into squares. It's actually not all the velvet, it's just a selection of all the colors that I thrifted over the last 10 years. They're very nice velvets, and I thrifted them in the form of dresses. Some is actual yardage that I found, but a lot of them are fabrics from skirts and dresses. Many of the linings were lovely satins, and I salvaged those as well. This is a pretty blue velvet, and it films a totally different color than what it actually is. But I'm really happy with the velvets I've found in the last several years. These are the crazy quilt patches that I started when my oldest son was deployed to Afghanistan. I purposed myself to learn something new every month, and ribbon embroidery was one of them. So I am excited to get my crazy quilt finished this year. These are blocks of the satins that I've found, and I've cut those up, getting ready to make the crazy quilt. These are curtains that I found, along with the linings and jackets. This is an antique purse that belonged to my Aunt Ruthie, and I'm going to put that on the crazy quilt as well. I'm going to use this thin, sturdy curtain fabric as backing for the embroidery. This is a beautiful, lovely satin jacket that I found. It is an oriental design, and it is absolutely lovely. As we move over to the craft closet, I did meet my goal of using up a lot of ingredients this year. Out of the 7 totes that I did empty, I used 3 for storage for upcoming projects. I subdivided a couple of my fabrics, and I have 2 large totes that remain empty. In the past several months, I have found 4 sets of Lincoln logs. I'm preparing those to be listed, and I did share with you before, I think 1 set of Lincoln logs, as well as the Empire State Building erector set. The left-hand side of the closet is more related to miniatures these days, but it does have some regular craft ingredients as well. This is a play-scale cooking set. One of the projects slated for this year is to rebuild my play-scale cooking stove. You will see how I'll be able to make it full functioning for baking and cooking, and we'll do some miniature cooking together. This is one of my projects I'm planning for this spring, and I'm going to sell them at the craft fair in March. This card I originally planned on using for ceramics and clay. I've now repurposed it to be our paint station. These items are going to be repurposed to make armatures for sculpting for the manor house. Next, we have this beautiful dress I purchased for the fabric for crazy quilts. It had yards and yards of this beautiful purple taffeta. I brought it home, and I was getting ready to cut the skirt off of it, and it dawned on me to check it out on eBay, and then I discovered it is vintage 1980s, and it has a resale value of $279. The last on my major goals was to finish all the mending and hemming, and I began with this gallery trench coat I thrifted 3 years ago. After the hemming was done, I did look it up to see if it had any vintage value, and it sure did. I purchased this for myself, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I did finish all of my mending and hemming. One of the things I did not learn growing up was embroidery, so that is why I purchased those various stitchery books. I'm going to be getting ready to transfer all my knowledge from forming the Stitchery book directly to working on the Crazy Quilt. I thrifted this wonderful stack of linen napkins this summer. They were only 20 cents each. After my friend Julie selected what she wanted, I purchased the rest just in case both she or I would need them. The decision is how to rotate the napkin to maximize the use of the linen. These off-white napkins were thrifted for the fabric for use in the Crazy Quilt. I'm going to save the appliques for use in the Stitchery book, possibly on the Crazy Quilt as well. This decorative box I thrifted for $1.50 a couple of years ago. It's perfect for going back and forth as we alternate workspaces each week. It's important that I have everything organized before Monday, because Monday I start working on the Manor House on its third and final stage. The first room on the list in the Manor House is going to be the kitchen, as well as completing the Inglenook hearth. Progress on each room will be shared weekly. This is raw silk ribbon for ribbon embroidery. It will either arrive on a spool or a loose skein such as this. I took the time and wrapped it on vintage spools for convenience. What's nice about the raw silk is that it can be colored by hand. Well, that is the craft room wrap up for the year. I'm going to end by closing up my box. I've finished putting everything together for the project. The little picture I'm going to share with you is going to be my inspiration for the Stitchery book. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. Please share my crafting channel with your crafting friends. I welcome your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Check us out on Instagram and tap that notification button for upcoming announcements of thrifts and crafts. But most of all, have a lovely, lovely day.